You know, some novels are just stories, but others, they're mirrors. Today, we're diving into a book that's over 150 years old, but somehow it might just understand our modern struggles better than we understand ourselves. It holds up a mirror to the darkest corners of the human mind.
I mean, really think about that. What if those thoughts you'd never ever dare to admit, that internal chaos, that guilt we all wrestle with, were already perfectly captured? Well, that's the core of Fyodor Dostoevsky's masterpiece, Crime and Punishment. And let me tell you, it's so much more than a story about a murder. It's about the human soul itself being put on trial.
So, to really get what makes this novel feel so timeless, so urgent, we have to look past the title. It kind of suggests a simple cause and effect story, right? But with Dostoevsky, it's never, ever that simple.
Yeah, it's easy to think this is just a classic crime story, a battle between a criminal and the law. But the reality, the real fight at the heart of the novel, is all internal. It's one man against his own conscience, his own guilt, his very soul.
And this is the key. This is everything. The main character, Raskolnikov, isn't ultimately broken by the police or the courts. No, he is absolutely crushed by the sheer weight of his own actions. The punishment comes from inside him, and that's what makes this 19th century novel so frighteningly relevant today.
Okay, so this is where things get really, really interesting. Because Raskolnikov's whole mindset, it isn't just some dusty relic of the past. It's an echo of a very, very modern way of thinking. See, this was his whole big idea. Raskolnikov, who's this poor but brilliant student, truly believed he was an extraordinary man, someone above morality. He used his intellect to justify murder, framing it not as a crime but as a necessary step for some higher purpose. Sound familiar?
I mean, just look around at our world today. We are living in the golden age of self-justification. We see it everywhere, right? From politicians who explain away corruption for a supposed greater good, to tech companies that hide behind neutrality while their platforms cause actual harm. Even on a smaller scale, think about online cruelty that just gets brushed off with, well, everyone's doing it. That is the Raskolnikov mindset, alive and well in the 21st century.
And here's where it gets, well, a little uncomfortable. Dostoevsky didn't write Raskolnikov to be some monster we could just point at and judge from a safe distance. No, he created a mirror. Raskolnikov is what happens when our own capacity for self-deception is taken to its logical, horrifying conclusion. He's us, just without our usual filters and excuses.
So, what happens when this brilliant intellectual theory slams head-on into the messy reality of the human soul? Well, this is where the real punishment begins. And it's not in a prison cell. It's in the prison of his own mind. You can literally watch him unravel. It follows this terrifyingly clear path. It all starts with the theory in his head. Then comes the crime itself. But almost immediately after, his intellect becomes totally useless. It's just gone, replaced by this crippling paranoia and then a deep, suffocating guilt. His conscience just completely steamrolls his philosophy.
And this is the big lesson, right? Morality isn't just some external rule book you can choose to ignore. It's wired into us. Raskolnikov's journey proves you simply cannot reason your way out of a truth that your own soul recognizes.
But here's the thing. Dostoevsky doesn't just throw us into the deep end and leave us there. He lays out this huge problem, this internal collapse. But he also points the way to a solution, a path to redemption.
So what saves him? It's not a better argument. It's not a more clever philosophy. It has nothing to do with the intellect at all. The only way forward is through the very things his theory rejected: compassion for other people, genuine human connection, and ultimately love. That's it. That's the only force strong enough to fight the punishment from within. And maybe, just maybe, this is the most important takeaway for us today. In an age where we're always trying to optimize and debug everything in our lives, Dostoevsky reminds us that guilt, our conscience, it isn't a bug. It's not an error in our programming. It's a fundamental feature of being human.
Dostoevsky just knew you can't outrun your own morality. You can try, you can rationalize it away, you can push it down, pretend it doesn't exist, but it always finds its way back. It returns as that nagging feeling of guilt, that profound sense of emptiness, or just a quiet, persistent inner voice that keeps on asking one simple question.
And that's the question the novel leaves us with. A question that echoes from the 19th century directly into our lives right now. When we justify our actions, when we cut moral corners for some greater good,
Was it really worth it? That's a question for every single person, and every moment they have to decide who they really want to be.